nervous about this. Not just snipping weft, that's always daunting, but repairable if I make a mistake. I'm nervous about what comes next. But first, I'll unweave this sample so the loom is ready for the students. This is the last task to do before they arrive. All that remains is to calm my nerves. Playing with yarn is always good for that. This is my first time teaching for the guild, and to make things even more daunting, I'm taking over the beginner's weaving class from my mentor. I really hope I don't let her down. Although I've taken my share of mindful meditation classes, I find formal practice to be counterproductive. However, small repetitive tasks, like one finds while weaving, is the best way to calm my system. So I am starting a project, just for me. Arriving early, I begin the project at the beginning. I will wind the warp, dress the loom, weave the cloth. Unlike the students who will learn everything backwards, and for the first day, we begin with weaving. I am measuring the warp. This is the yarn that will be held by the loom, and each has to be the same length and tension. At one end of the warp, I create a cross, going under one time and over another. There, that's about as much as this board will hold. I tie each leg of the cross, and now chain the warp, which is a bit like crochet, only with our fingers. Pull a loop through, and then pull the next loop through, and pull the next loop through. Now it is less likely to tangle in storage, and I shall repeat this until I have enough warp for the entire project. I don't know if I'm feeling calmer, but I am feeling more confident. I think I might got this. I mean, how hard could it be? Yeah. Isn't that pretty? Warp and yarn for the students. I've got some warp chains too. As my project is quite a bit wider, I have a few chains. It's better to separate the warp into multiple chains than deal with a broken warping board. The least sticks hold the cross, preventing the yarn from tangling into chaos. I can finally snip the ties and start spacing the warp on the rattle. Today is for teaching dressing the loom, and I'm glad my project is at the same stage, as it helps me arrange my thoughts as I apply order to the yarn. Putting pretty yarn on the loom is tricky enough, but what I want to teach them most of all is that the loom is not the boss of them, that they can adapt the tools and techniques to do their bidding. That and troubleshooting when things don't go according to plan. Speaking about troubleshooting, what? I have made some very bad math. Let's see, we have... an hour. Okay, this whole thing should be 26 inches wide at 20 ends per inch. However, when I do the math, that section gives me 6 inches, 1.7 inches, and 28.2 inches. Add them together, we get more than Yeah, we get more than 26. And that is why we have so much yarn left over. So I need to find out what I've actually done and what do I want to keep. So I'm definitely keeping this bout here. And then we find out how much of this we need. 1, 2, 3. Instead of counting them all, so this is about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 17 and a half inches. This one was 6, 7, so 7. 8 is unknowable. So basically, if I fudge the math, I can simply remove the center chain and it will be only about ½ an inch smaller than my original plan. I can work with that. That was unexpected, but it didn't take too long to repair. It's a good reminder that problems happen. There is almost always a solution. And when there isn't, well, it's just yarn. But this time it worked out. There is plenty of time to get this yarn onto the back beam before the students arrive, and probably even a cup of tea as well. I feel wrong-footed and rushed this morning. So much to do before I can get back to my project. But the students are doing great, right on schedule. Quick glance over the looms to check for errors, teaching opportunities. All is well. Now to put some mistakes in the demo loom for troubleshooting practice. There, I'm ready for the class. I still have a bit of time to work on my weaving. This is heddle threading and, well, it goes on forever. I'm behind schedule today because I ran into a friend and we had a good old natter. But I'm on the extreme end of the introvert scale, and although it is lovely to catch up with old friends, unscheduled social interaction is doubly draining. I am miserly with my energy levels, and I need to make certain that I have sufficient spoons for teaching and enough left over to get home at the end of the day. That is why I have this alone time with the loom, and I can feel the energy pouring back into me. Oh shoot, I forgot to draw the thing to help teach the tie-up. Well, try to draw. A parrot is just a chicken with a hooked beak and a long tail, right? Yeah. No class today. I snuck into the studio to try and get my project back on schedule. I had expected to be weaving by now, but everything is taking nearly 3 times as long as it would on my home loom. Just little things like these metal heddles. Some are twisted for hand threading, like I do, and others are for a hook, like this. Whereas at home, I have textile heddles that work well both ways. And yet, if the weaver only ever weaves one way, the metal heddle can really speed things up. There are all these little tricks for adapting the loom to the weaver, and it is vital to do so if you want to keep up your weaving momentum. Speaking of weaving at home, I'm also attempting to do some set samples in a hurry. Next class, the students design their first project from scratch. These samples will help them see what the results of their decisions will be. For each sample, I reslay the warp at different densities, or sets, that's with 2 T's, and then I fold the cloth. And I'll keep one unfold so they can see how much difference it makes to the structure of the cloth. If you want to see more about weaving the set samples, I have a couple of Craft With Me videos I'll link to in the description, and another one about fulling, where the beautiful Beatrice talks about how important it is and what transformation it makes to the final cloth. The Craft With Me videos are designed as a focus and relaxation aid, but they also show a lot of detail that I miss in the regular videos, so I think they're quite good for learning weaving too, or at least learning all my idiosyncrasies. Back in the studio, I just lost my game of heddle chicken. I've got all this yarn and not enough heddles. I knew I should have counted. Well, no, I lie. I just assumed there would be enough. Possible solutions include: I could borrow heddles from another frame. Nope, not enough. I could use less yarn. I'm already half an inch narrower than planned. I could make more heddles. Now this, annoying, but I think this is the path forward. Tying heddles also provides a real-world example for the students to see why this is such a cool skill to learn. I just really hate tying heddles. So boring. Today is a tough day for the students. I hope they remember to bring themselves some chocolate. They're gonna need it. Today, they will take command of their first project from planning to completion. The set samples are full, and wow, what a difference. This will certainly help with the decision making. On my own project, I'm almost ready to weave. Slaying the reed is one of my favorite tasks. This is the final act of asserting order on the chaos. And as we saw from the samples, it has a huge effect on the finished cloth. I love this tool. It is improvised from a butter knife and is the most comfortable slaying hook I've used. I adore seeing tools like this, as it shows that weaving is more than just creativity with yarn. Finally, warp meets weft. I find this loom to be a bit of a workout. If this was my loom, I would set it up differently. A shuttle race, change the heddles, clean up the shed, you know the stuff. But I learned a lot weaving on this equipment and trying the different setup. It's a good reminder that weavers leave their mark on the loom, and this loom is at least 95 years old. It has seen a lot of yarn and different styles of weaving over the years. With love and care, this loom could easily keep on weaving for another century. And it's only by weaving on a loom can we truly discover how to adjust it to match the weaver's style. So too with teaching. Now I've taught the class, I know better how I would want to do it again. Like adjusting a loom, I would make a small change. observe, and then change again. The weaving goes quickly, and my mind turns to the finished cloth. Will it work for my project? Or perhaps it's better suited to something else? I won't know until it's gone through the rigors of fulling. I'm thinking too about the students and their next steps on their weaving journeys. I'm worried about something they said, and I've heard this before. It seems a common stumbling block for new weavers. So I have a question for you, and I don't want this to devolve into a whinge fest with cathartic retellings of negative stories, just not in the mood for that. But rather, I want to hear your positive experiences of places both real world and virtual where new weavers can feel the love and won't be attacked for mixing up their reeds and their rattles, or hearing the gospel that you cannot get perfect selvages without the blah blah blah. You know what I mean. So what are your experiences? Please let me know where is a safe place for new weavers to hang out and learn more, be inspired. Happy weaving, everyone!